Hello, everyone. I'm Alice. I always thought that horror movies weren't real. I was wrong. I had a completely ordinary life. I never knew my parents, and until recently lived in an orphanage. And then they showed up. A woman in red and a man in black. They took me into their family, and that's how my strange story began. If you're not afraid, then listen till the end. They brought me to their huge house. They seemed very kind, albeit sad. They told me I could just call them by their first names, Clarice and Carl, and also that they have a son, but he was not feeling well, and I would meet him later. Days passed, and I never saw him. Food was brought directly to his room. The door to it was always closed, and the blinds were drawn on the windows. One time, I noticed him watching me from his window. I asked Clarice why he never comes out. It seemed so strange to me. She said that I had nothing to fear, and that he and I would definitely get acquainted. Just later, the next day, Clarice and Carl left for the city. A thunderstorm started, and the lights went out in the house. I was scared to sit alone in the dark, especially in such a terrible thunderstorm. I decided that it would be better to wait it out with someone else. I didn't know what was waiting for me behind that door, but I knocked. He did not open, but I think I heard him breathing near the door. I went outside. At least it wasn't so dark there, and I noticed that he was watching me again. I decided that I would knock on his door until he opened it. But the door to his room was open. I went in. He was sitting with his back to me, and then he turned around sharply. At that moment, lightning flashed, and I saw that his teeth were unusually large, and they were covered in blood. I screamed, and at that moment he approached me and took out the toy fangs from his mouth. The moron was just messing with me. I almost soiled my pants, and he thought it was funny. And he turned out to be totally normal, a little pale and thin, but still cute. And he had kind eyes, just like a child's. I couldn't even be angry with him for long. He said that he had long wanted to meet me. It's a pity that his parents didn't allow him to leave the room. I asked why. He told me that the last weekend had been especially hot, and he always gets bad in hot weather. Plus, he should never be out in the sun, so his windows are always closed. I didn't understand what kind of illness it was, and thought he was still pranking me. Then, he took me to a computer and looked up porphyria disease. If he does go outside, then only at sunset. And to heal, he needed to drink blood like a real vampire. The last part shocked me, but he said that he was joking. He didn't drink human blood. He got injections with genetically modified blood. That didn't make me feel much better. We talked until late at night. He was strange, but sweet. I even caught myself trying not to fall in love with him. After all, he was like a brother to me now. When his parents got back, I thought they were glad that they no longer had to hide him from me. But the next morning, Clarice asked me to treat him with care. I told her that I would do everything I could to help him get better. Then she said that he would never get better. He had 2 months left to live, no more, and that he did not know about it. There was no need to upset him. I started spending all my time with him. I couldn't believe that this bright and kind boy was really dying. One night, he woke me up. He invited me on a walk. We went into the forest. It turned out he had a secret hiding place there. He asked me to do something for him. He gave me a crumpled piece of paper. I asked what it was. He said it was his bucket list. He added that he knew he was going to die soon. Some of the desires on his list had been crossed out, and some had a plus sign. He asked me to help him get to know a girl. I couldn't say no to him. I asked Clarice to let us go into town, but she said it was too dangerous for him, so I decided to act on my own. When everyone was asleep, I borrowed Clarice's credit card and car keys and woke him up. I told him that the day had come for the crazy thing he wanted, and we went to a bar. We started off with a large beer. We started looking for a suitable girl for him. He was clearly embarrassed, and I wanted to invite one cute blonde to our table. She had been making eyes at him, but he stopped me. He told me that I didn't need to call anyone over. He was happy just to be with me. The idea with the girl failed, but I decided that day we would complete one more item from his list. We drove to our clearing in the forest. I apologized that the girl thing hadn't worked out. He didn't say anything. And then I kissed him. When we got home, his parents were already waiting for us. I thought they would throw a fit, but they just strictly said that it could never happen again. A month later, he was taken to the hospital, and then he was gone. I still can't believe it. A few days later, Clarice gave me a letter. It was from him. I couldn't bring myself to open it for a long time. Several months have passed. Clarice and Carl are kind to me. They see how hard it is for me, but they ask me to stay with them. They told me that it was he who asked them to get a child from an orphanage, to give them the opportunity to grow up in a good family, which he had. I don't want to offend them, but it is very difficult for me to stay in this house. Everything here reminds me of him. What would you do if you were me? And yes, his name was Kevin, and he was only 16. Thank you for listening to this story till the end.
Hi, I'm Charlie. I'm 19 years old, and I spent a whole 10 hours alone with a beautiful girl. In a broken elevator. It was enough time to overcome our insecurities and show each other our best side. But everything went wrong. It happened on Christmas Eve. I hopped into the elevator and saw that my riding companion on a trip to the 6th floor was a very pretty girl. I took a deeper breath to better smell the scent of her perfume as the elevator jolted and froze. I was confused, wondering what had happened as she was already trying to report the problem to the elevator service. Strange, no one's answering. I'm Dina, she said, smiling. And I'm Charlie. She looked at me questioningly, expecting me to say something else, but absolutely nothing crossed my mind. Time passed and I continued to be silent, trying to look completely at ease as if I were not embarrassed by the awkward silence. I really wanted to get to know her better. When would I ever get another chance like this? I just couldn't figure out where to start. She spoke first. This is taking a long time. I hope we'll be out in time for the holiday. I heard that someone once spent 42 hours in a broken elevator. I fell silent when I saw her looking at me with frightened eyes. What was I doing? I'm a complete moron! An hour passed. After 2, we were sitting on the floor with backs propped against the not-so-clean elevator walls. After 4 hours, we were rummaging through all of our belongings in search of at least some kind of food. After 5 hours, we split a piece of candy that Dina found in her bag. After 6 hours, we felt like we had known each other for about 100 years. At this very cool moment of our imprisonment, I suddenly realized that more than anything, even more than Dina, I wanted only one thing. I urgently needed a toilet. Dina noticed that something was wrong with me. I didn't want to talk, but I couldn't hold it anymore. She quickly pulled an empty water bottle out of her bag. Here you go. Do it. I shook my head. I couldn't do it in front of her. Yes, come on. There will only be a real problem if I have to go. A bottle's not going to save me. Take it, and I will turn away. I tried, but nothing worked. It seemed like it was already up to my ears, but I could not squeeze a single drop out of me. You will hear. I can't. Dina put on her headphones, but that didn't work either. Then she turned on some loud music on her phone so that I would be distracted. So, standing in the far corner of the elevator with my back to Dina, while a relaxing Sting song was playing, I finally did it. I put the lid on the bottle and bashfully put it behind my backpack. I was about to thank her when the elevator started moving again. The doors opened and we were released. We were almost gone when we heard a loud scream from the technician. Guys, you forgot your lemonade! I had to go back for that damn bottle. I never got Dina's number. It was somehow a little awkward after that. So that's when we parted ways. Thank you for listening to my story.